Let's head down to Florida because it was quite a scene in Destin, Florida over the weekend. Look at the video coming out of Destin. So on Saturday, I was working alongside Nick Koser and Ari Sarsolari, and we were tracking this, and this was a fast developing situation. We had this supercell that developed this area of rotation very quickly over water. So you can see when this was, in fact, a water spout, and then it quickly progressed its way onto land. And of course, at that point, it was classified as a tornado, and it did cause some damage. So on the right-hand side of your screen, you are looking at some of that damage down trees, down power lines, especially right along I-10. Now, of course, when we're thinking about where this occurred, it was near Henderson Beach State Park. And Marissa, we were just talking about that over the commercial break. Henderson Beach State Park, it's a beautiful area. And when I saw this, as we call it, a TDS, this tornado debris signature indicating that there was debris being lofted up near the Henderson State Park, my heart just sank. Because it's just such a beautiful spot, and it was early. Folks were a little caught off guard.
Yeah, I think, the hope is that if it's just raining that people aren't going to be out there because it's not a great day. But the reality is we do get out there even when it's a little cloudy, overcast. And so a lot of these storms can kind of sneak up on you, like you said. Watching for even that threat for today. Now, this area will be surveyed today by the National Weather Service. That is the Mobile, Pensacola office. So we'll wait to see what the survey crews say, and if in fact it was a tornado, what the rating is, and that sort of thing. But hey, Kendall, everybody was okay. We know there was damage, but at least no injuries reported. The concern today, not just for more water spouts and severe weather, but more so, I think, that threat for flash flooding today through tomorrow, that upgrade, Kendall, that we have from the Climate Prediction Center for the level 3 that falls right over Miami, over towards Fort Lauderdale, that level 3 out of 4.
Yeah, so when we're looking at the areas that are included, I'm sure probably what sticks out to you in your mind, which it does, at least for me in my mind, is this is a highly populated portion of the state. So we're talking about West Palm all the way down to Miami. There's a lot of concrete. It's a very urban area, and whenever you're talking about just intense rain rates, upwards of 1 to 2 inches or more per hour, that will quickly add up in a short period of time. So there's the potential that over the course of the next 24 hours, we could see upwards of 8, maybe even 10 inches or more of rain. When you consider the drought and what's been going on in this part of the state, they're running a good 12-inch deficit. Now, that took place over the course of 5 months. We're talking about maybe picking up 8 to 10 inches in just one day. We could easily erase the vast majority of that deficit in just a matter of hours.
Yeah, which, you get a lot of runoff when you get all this rain falling down. But yeah, I mean, it could certainly help close the gap. And I said CPC, I mean WPC, Weather Prediction, that put out the upgrade to it's a Monday.
It is a Monday.
It's just, I'm really feeling it. My coffee's still trying to kick in. But yeah, I think it's just, even then, we have the deficit, but it's a lot of rain in a short amount of time. It's already coming down this morning, as you can see with radar. The heavy pockets of rain go from south to north, Miami included in that, up towards Fort Lauderdale. Some of these instances, you're going to get that rumble of thunder. Noticing even in the live camera, don't see much action there, depending on where this camera is, but there are some spots of light rain as well.
Yeah, and as we're focusing in on Miami, Miami is dealing with a ground delay. So Miami International, if you're trying to fly into or out of Miami, just expect some slowdowns. But what a ground delay means is that you're actually going to be held at your departing location. So let's say maybe you are in Atlanta or even New York City. You're trying to go to Miami. You just are going to be held there a little while longer until the situation improves. But when you're looking at it on radar, it's going to be a little while because thunderstorms are around. That's why that average delay is about 90 minutes.
And and I think you look at the flow, things are kind of training. So it's this general area where the rain just continues to move southwest to northeast, so to speak, generally speaking. And so trying to get out of some of the heavy rain and even some of the storms that could develop. We'll see what severe level we get with these storms. Because of the cloud cover, I'm not sure how much will destabilize throughout the day, but I'm just concerned more so about the flood risk. So this is a watch that was issued in regards to the heavy rain. Notice it goes across Alligator Alley, I-75, and then includes Miami Beach up to Fort Lauderdale as well.
Yeah, so it'll stay really soggy. Just anticipate it to be a tough go of things out there on our area roads and interstates. Take ample amount of time to get to wherever you need to go today because, Miami is just a mess in terms of traffic in general. And then you add on a lot of heavy rain. Flooding is very likely, from the torrential rain. So it's not going to be a good situation. Here's what I was mentioning, though. The fact that we have that deficit of about 12 inches. Yeah, we could easily erase that and then some in just about 24 hours, maybe even a little bit, more than closer to 36, maybe 48. But Miami Beach, 12 to 18 inches.
I mean, these are areas, Miami Beach, we've covered multiple times when those roads just get overwhelmed. I mean, it's an urban area. It doesn't drain great. So you get a lot of these more commercial spots that will typically flood pretty quickly. You get that also up into Fort Lauderdale. So paying attention, especially as we head further into the afternoon, the rain hasn't stopped since early this morning, and it's only going to get worse. It's just today through tomorrow. And then by the time we get into Wednesday, the sun returns, clouds start to part, and we return into the upper 80s.
Yeah, better conditions on the way at that point.
Better conditions, yeah.
All right, well, today's flood threat expands beyond just Florida. We are talking about a new round of severe storms and showers and thunderstorms across the region. So we're talking about the southeast all the way up into the Mid-Atlantic, northeast as well. So if you didn't really enjoy this past weekend, well, unfortunately, we're not out of the woods just yet. We've got more in the way of active, just heavy rain, maybe even a few rumbles of thunder, some gusty wind as this area of low pressure continues to progress its way slowly but surely to the northeast. Now, once it's impacting portions of the Appalachian Mountains, we're going to have some upsloping take place. So that's why we've got a level 2 out of 4 flash flood risk in effect for those areas right now. And so when you are looking at that overall kind of wide shot of the zone, so southeast all the way through the Carolinas and even into portions of the Mid-Atlantic, that's where we've got that level 2 threat in place from about the Tennessee, North Carolina state line. Also, we're looking at kind of Georgia being that cutoff. The entire state of South Carolina, North Carolina, those are the areas that are going to be hit the hardest. And so when we are considering the moisture, there is abundant moisture that is just streaming into the region like a fire hose, almost an atmospheric river type situation when you think about it. And that's when you're considering the water vapor imagery being contrasted with the dry air that's present in the atmosphere. So all that orange, that's located off to the west. That is the dry air trying to work its way in, but all that moisture is still streaming in up and down the I-95 corridor. And that's why easily in portions of the Appalachian Mountains, I'm thinking of especially some of the recently very hard hit areas, the Blue Ridge Mountains, the Piedmonts, those are spots where we could see 3 to 5 inches of rain or more in a short period of time. So much like our friends and neighbors just to the south of us in Florida, South Florida, we could easily be talking about impressive totals, not quite as impressive, not talking about a foot in some spots, but it's the amount of rain that we will see over these vulnerable communities in a short window of time.
Yeah, I think, it just depends on where some of these showers and storms set up. Not everybody will see it, but those that do, paying attention to what could trigger some of the flooding. That area of low pressure continuing to churn. You can kind of see the counterclockwise flow. A lot of this rain coming in from the east, from the southeast, and pushing off to the northwest. Atlanta, you have some thunderstorms just to the north of Atlanta, but across portions of Tennessee, even into the Carolinas. So watching, to your point, in through the Blue Ridge, in through the Appalachians, where maybe you get a little bit more lift and squeeze out a little bit more moisture. It does look like maybe even some of the deeper of the totals could be closer to the coast. Regardless, we're stuck in a pattern, and those chances for some heavy rain do remain for some of you, but it is scattered in nature.
Yeah, so those flood alerts, they are posted for good reason. It is because of the fact that when you think about weather-related killers, it's not hurricanes and tornadoes. It's actually heat followed by flooding. And a lot of those flood fatalities occur in vehicles. And so that's why you have to be vigilant and just avoiding those flood-prone spots, because Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, all the way over to Auburn, those are areas where the soil moisture is wet, if not very wet, so it won't take very much additional rain to see flooding. Then you look at a little further to the east, and of course, I'll have you maybe draw this on. I realized that my telestrator wasn't the one that was capable of drying this morning. But yeah, you see the areas that are in the complete opposite situation, dry, if not very dry. And that's the area of concern, because the ground is going to say, hey, I can't hardly take on this much water that quickly.
Yeah, I think, you talk about the Carolina coast down through Georgia, and also we talked about Florida earlier, by the way, that brown indicating dry to very dry. But you have a lot of green on the map, because the reality is it has generally been very wet across the Mississippi Valley, and the ground is just super soggy. The threat for today, by the way, the severe threat of level 1 that goes through the Florida Peninsula, then all the way through Georgia, South Carolina, into portions of Tennessee. Level 1 threat, so an isolated threat, but everything is going to be on the table. Even for tornadoes, we can't rule out 1 or 2 of those.